Welcome to SmartTrucker's How to Maximize Your Income. SmartTrucker is a company dedicated to teaching truckers how to become among the highest paid drivers in the industry. SmartTrucker believes in leading by example, by walking the walk, not just talking the talk. The information you find in this series is based on the personal experience of the founder of the company, Nico Voyages. Nico grew up around trucking and has watched the industry change. He has learned to maximize his income through personal experience and by watching and learning from other highly respected and successful people in the industry. This audio program is intended for informational purposes only. However, it is sold with the understanding that the author and publisher are not engaged in rendering legal, financial, or other professional advice. Laws and practices often vary from state to state, and if legal or other expert assistance is required, the services of a professional should be sought. The author and publisher specifically disclaim any liability that is accrued from the use or application of the contents of this audio program. However, you can be assured that the content presented here brings proven, reliable tools for success and is already being used by some of the top professionals in trucking today. I'm sure you're anxious to learn the secrets that Nico has in store for you here on this CD. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, here's Nico Voyages.
Hi, I'm Nico. As a driver over the last 10 years, I've done everything from local driving to regional to buying my own truck and running coast to coast. My first year as an owner-operator, I was leased to several companies who all ran their business different. After 11 months of doing that, I went out and got my own authority. In that time, I've made my share of mistakes and also realized that I put myself in situations where I was giving up my power and control, which kept me in a box where my decisions were limited. But over time, have learned how to drive my way onto that center line to financial success through the proper knowledge and guidance. What is the center line of financial success? One of my mentors, Chris Hoffman, gave me an analogy once. He said when people start a business or a project, they have a goal. And in order to reach that goal, they have to travel down this hallway. The challenge is, in that hallway, there are doors. And as human beings, it's easy to get distracted. So as people start to walk down that hallway, they get to a door, they want to know what's in it. So instead of staying focused, they make a decision to go in, walk around for a while, and then come back out. And then later, maybe go into another door, and then maybe another. Who knows how many times someone will allow themselves to get distracted before they finish achieving the goal they originally started. Someone serious will not allow very many things to distract them. Distractions can vary, from being stopped by a TV show as you walk by, to a sick family member, to taking an unplanned vacation or spontaneously jumping into a sports league. When they come out of that door, it might be anywhere from a few minutes to years. And sometimes they never even get back into that hallway that could have taken them to their dream. The center line to financial success is similar. It's a straight highway that leads you to where you want to be financially. It is said that the quickest way from point A to point B is a straight line, right? Well, the quickest way to maximize your income is on the center line to financial success. But just like the hallway, the highway has distractions. We'll call them exits. Each exit leads to a different destination, like running for $1 per mile with your own authority, or running for 90 cents per mile leased to someone, or maybe something more tragic like a bankruptcy. And these exits don't just distract you, they confuse you. They make people feel like they're doing really good when they're not. Most owner-operators are running around on these exit roads lost, and they don't even know how to get onto that center line to financial success. In this CD, I will provide you with a map to get you back onto that center line if you're not already on it. Before we get started, I want you to know that I want this to work for you. But in order for it to work, you have to follow a few rules. Number 1, I want you to apply what you learn here. That's right, take action. Do not just listen to this CD and put it away. I once heard someone say, potential minus commitment equals nothing. We all have potential. The problem is most of us do nothing with it. Also, statistically, most people start something but never follow through. This information is easily worth 20 times the price you paid. But if you don't apply it to your life, it's worth nothing. And the money you invested did not serve its purpose. I don't want to see that happen to you. Number 2, take what I teach you and build on this knowledge. Make it better. There is a lot of information that I could not fit onto this CD because I wanted to make it affordable to buy for anybody who wanted to better their financial situation. There will be more CDs in the future on other topics, but don't wait for me. By the end of this CD, you will have more than enough information that you need to make a dramatic change. This information should be considered a stepping stone. What I have done is learn from the most successful people that I could find and adapted their principles and techniques into my life. but did not stop learning there. I went out and sought all types of information, good and bad, so I could have a good perspective with what I was really dealing with. The education process never ends, and that means I'm not done learning either. I will continue to change and search for better ways to do things as the industry continually changes, and so should you if you want to stay on top of things. Number 3, re-listen to the CD often and as many times as you need to until you feel the information is a part of you. We retain more information about things as human beings when we repeat them. As a matter of fact, there are a few things that I'm going to be repeating throughout this CD myself. Repetition is the key. Also, listen to the CD a month or two after you've started your new journey. Your perspective will change, and some of the things you hear today on the CD will mean something completely different to you in the future because our perspectives change as we grow and learn more. Also, keep in mind, we're at our best when we're challenged. That's when we grow the most and feel most fulfilled. In most cases, excitement and challenge fades away from an owner-operator's life as they get older. I think the word I'm looking for is content, and content is not a good word in business. In the dictionary, the first definition I found under content was not inclined to complain. No, we can't use that one. How about this one? Submissive to circumstances, resigned, accepting. That's the one. Most owner-operators have fallen into this state of mind. You know what? You can change that if you want. The owner-operator can open the door into a whole new world. I once heard someone say, be careful what you believe in, because what you believe in, you will make it true, whether it's true or not. There are countless of examples of people doing things others say cannot be done, but still people choose not to believe when others around them are doing it. This only limits the person who does not believe. The same thing applies to owner-operators. Even though there are great rates in their reach, they don't believe it, and it's impossible to achieve something you don't believe exists. Most owner-operators give up somewhere between 85 cents and $1.15 per mile. Why? Because it's what they're taught. We think things like, we're the little guy and we don't have much control. We think those thoughts over a long period of time until it turns into conditioning. Those are misconceptions. We believe in false ceilings that don't exist in reality, only in our heads. What I'm about to share with you will be a paradigm shift for a lot of truckers. A paradigm is a pattern. A paradigm shift is to completely change how you think and do these patterns. A paradigm shift is usually hard to accept because it goes against everything you've been taught and the way you've been doing things. A perfect example of a paradigm shift is before Columbus sailed to America. People thought the world was flat. It was extremely difficult to accept that the world might be round. But there are people who actually laughed and made fun of those who thought the world was round because it went against what they were taught and what they believed. That was one of the biggest paradigm shifts of all time. The fact is, these changes that I'm going to be talking about are only going to be new to the owner-operator, not the industry. It may take a little time to sink in and understand because you're not familiar with it yet. It's kind of when you're learning how to ride a bike, and only experience will give you the full understanding of how it works. And that's why I want to remind you how important it is to take action. So SmartTrucker tip number 1, your perspective will determine what you can and cannot do. Change your perspective and you will change the direction you're going. Well, I hope you're wearing your seatbelt for 2 reasons. Number 1, I don't want you to fall out of your seat from what I'm about to tell you because I'm not going to sugarcoat this. I'm going to tell it like it is. And number 2, you should be wearing it anyway, right? I'd like to start off by asking you, is trucking in your blood? Being a trucker is not just a job to a lot of people, it's personal. Some of you know what I'm talking about. They say when it's in your blood, you'll know it. You'll feel different, like when you run into a chrome shop and you look like your kids running into a Toys R Us store. Or when you're driving and can't believe you're actually getting paid to do this. When you start feeling those emotions, it probably means you're going to be in trucking for a long time. I think being a trucker is an amazing career, but unfortunately, that alone does not guarantee you success. The trucking industry is like a game, and all games have rules. You have to know them, especially how the rate game is played. And in the rate game, the one with the most knowledge wins. I'm sure you've heard the expression, knowledge is power. Wars are won because of knowledge. Can you imagine what would have happened in World War II if we did not have the knowledge for the atomic bomb? Albert Einstein came up with a mathematical equation for the atomic bomb. He was German, but like many people, he immigrated to America. What would have happened if he stayed in Germany and America never got a hold of his knowledge? It would have changed everything. That's the power I'm talking about. It applies to all areas of life, especially in trucking. A lot of the big companies are taking advantage of owner-operators using this type of knowledge. This is the beauty of SmartTrucker. We will bring this knowledge to you so you have more of a choice with what happens to you. So you as an owner-operator can become a powerful player in the trucking industry through SmartTrucker's Centerline to Financial Success business series. Each CD in the series is specifically about someone who has extraordinary success in trucking. It's like having the most successful people right next to you as you're driving down the road who can teach you things that can propel you onto a whole new level in your business. You're about to learn things that the big companies and brokers don't want you to know. Why? If you knew, most of you would be making different choices, and they would be making less money, or the industry rates would have to go up. So SmartTrucker tip number 2, seek knowledge. There's nothing new under the sun. Trying to reinvent the wheel, so to speak, is not smart. Most owner-operators try to do things on their own. There's too much misleading and damaging information flowing around out there. Most people think buy a truck and go. That is an employee mentality, not a business mentality. That's why statistically you have so many owner-operators filing bankruptcy, turning their trucks in, and going out of business. Trucking already has a wheel, the perfect round wheel, on how to be successful. You want to learn from the best model you can find. People are not using the principles and techniques that are already proven to work. For instance, most owner-operators run from day to day. Most of them think they don't have a plan, but making the decision not to have a plan, that is a plan for failure. By not creating your own plan, you are forced to run under someone else's plan. Guess whose? The big companies, at 85 cents to $1.15 per mile. Owner-operators are struggling and big companies are making a killing off of them because they're paying owner-operators unacceptable rates. That's because of our lack of knowledge and planning. Most of us feel like we have no other options. We think that the big companies are the only ones that can make high profits. Not true. Anybody with the proper knowledge can make high profits. The fact is, we give away our power. Here's a question for you. Do you think when a big company gets started, they run for $1 a mile, wing it day by day, and they say the future security and success of my business is based on, oh, we'll see what happens tomorrow when we deliver the load? No. They would never make it. No business works like that. But still, that's the way most owner-operators run. Here's something else to think about. The trucking industry has one of the highest failure rates in the nation. With those facts, you cannot wing it day to day and expect to be on top of your game. Trucking companies and successful owner-operators have a master plan, a specific game plan based on history, facts, statistics, proven methods, and other people's successes and failures. It doesn't matter if you have 1 truck or 1,000. You need a game plan to maximize your income. If you don't have one will be provided for you, and that's how it works. So SmartTrucker tip number 3, do not try to do this on your own at first. And SmartTrucker tip number 4, have a master plan. Well, how do you put one together? You find a mentor. How do you do that? 2 ways. You can go out and find mentors like I did, or from now on, you can let SmartTrucker bring them to you through our business series. I want to give you an idea on how important it is to have a mentor. So I'll tell you a little bit about mine. So far, I've had 3 great mentors: Charlie Griffel, Chris Hoffman, and Howard Yamada. These 3 people have influenced my life the greatest and would not be the person I am today if it was not for their guidance. Charlie, a truck mechanic for 40 years and an owner-operator for 15 years after that, he taught me how to be proud and how to keep my expenses the lowest. He is truly a master at decreasing his expenses and by far the happiest trucker I've ever met. Chris Hoffman, not in trucking, but the first to teach me about business. I probably drug him through more problems than my other 2 mentors combined. But if anyone has had an effect on how I think, how I live my life, and how I persevere through my problems, it is Chris. And last but not least, Howard. He has been a father figure to me. He has built an $8.5 million trucking company from scratch and growing. And his business grows at times when his competitors go out of business. He is a mastermind at building and running a business, especially a trucking company. He has taught me some of the most valuable and important techniques and principles that I apply to my business. It has put me onto a whole new playing field. For instance, he taught me not to be so proud to the point where I try to do everything myself, to always try to get myself around people who know more than me. That one principle alone has done wonders for me. Also, there's not enough good words in the dictionary to describe this person. Not only would I not be where I am today, but I would not be the person I am either. He has shown me how to live my life with honesty, integrity, fairness, compassion, and character, and has shown me the consequence of trying to live my life and build my business without these characteristics. If it was not through his guidance and tough love through tough times, I would not have made some very important changes in my life. But more importantly, he is a great man that has helped a lot of people, and his main goal in life, more important than making money, besides being there for his family, is to help others. As a matter of fact, the next CD coming out will be with him. If you're serious about being a successful owner-operator, you don't want to miss it. So Smart Trucker tip number 5, find a mentor. Be careful who you listen to. Even though mentors are important, it is more important who your mentors are. And listening to the wrong people can ruin your chance to maximize your income. Choose carefully who you listen to. I recently met a guy who was an owner-operator for 20 years. He sold his trucks last year. He said he wasn't cutting it. He said, listen up. I'm going to tell you something. Big companies are making it so you can't make money anymore. They're all running at 80 cents per mile all the time. They're driving the rates down. That's why you can't make money as an owner-operator. Don't tell anybody how you do things. You're lucky. He continued to tell me, if you lose what you're doing, you'll never be able to find anything like it again. This guy completely bummed me out. So much, I started to doubt myself. After a few minutes of that, I couldn't take it anymore. I had to set him straight. Because he was filling me up with garbage that's not true. I said, look, I'm going to give you some statistics. According to the Bureau of Transportation, of the top 20 truckload carriers in the United States, in the first quarter of 2002, the average expense per mile was $1.30. Their profit margins averaged around 6 cents per mile. So you do the math and tell me, how long can a trucking company exist if they're making 80 cents per mile and their expenses are $1.30 per mile? These companies are not running for 80 cents per mile all the time. There is no way they can do that and stay in business. I had to explain to him how it worked, and I will explain to you later how this is done. But it's misconceptions like that people believe in that keep them where they are. Even though he's a nice guy, he's misled. Receiving advice from him on being an owner-operator is like wanting to race in a marathon and asking advice from someone who finishes last. Not only did he not succeed, but his focus was on what didn't work instead of what did work. When I meet someone like that, I turn around and run as fast as I can because it may have a negative effect on me. If I didn't know any better, I would believe what he is saying and not believe what I am saying. And that means I would not be where I am today. After all, 20 years and he couldn't make it? What in the world would make me think I can? Remember what we said about belief? Be careful what you believe. So Smart Trucker tip number 6, only seek advice from people who focus on the solution, not on the problem. There's 3 reasons why a company will offer you such low rates. Number 1, you're an owner-operator. They think you're stupid. I've had brokers and people from trucking companies actually tell me that. The owner-operator knows that their expenses are lower than the bigger company's expenses, and because of that, we allow ourselves to get paid less. And while bigger companies would only accept these rates under certain circumstances, most owner-operators will accept these rates on average all the time. If people tried to offer these rates to some companies, they would get laughed off the phone, and they know it. The second reason why a company will offer such low rates to an owner-operator is because you're calling them. It means you're in need. You either find something or you're stuck. In most cases, owner-operators put themselves in situations where they're stuck somewhere. That is so common that everyone knows it, and most companies take advantage of it. You have to make it so the loads try to find you. And the third reason why companies will offer such low rates to owner-operators is we have learned to accept these rates as normal. So SmartTrucker tip number 7, carry yourself like a trucking company, not an owner-operator. And SmartTrucker tip number 8, break out of the stereotype that the trucking industry has put you in. At the same time, there are a lot of companies that will provide awesome opportunities for owner-operators. In 2001, I was leased onto a company that paid to the truck $1.60 to $1.75 a mile one way. If you demand more companies will offer more, or will not have the privilege of using you. Most companies towards most owner-operators have an attitude like they're offering something great. The smart owner-operator acts like they're the ones offering something great. As owner-operators start to demand more, companies will have to offer owner-operators more, or not be able to use them. Your other option is getting your own authority and getting your own customers. This is definitely the best way to go. This is when you become true competition, and now you're on a whole new plane level. That still does not limit you from working with other trucking companies. Having your own authority gives you the option to work with whomever you want that will work with you. Question: are you changing with changing times? You have to change with changing times, or you're going to get left behind. Frankly, that's happening to a lot of owner-operators. Most owner-operators are running at the same pay or less than they were 10 and 20 years ago. That's because they were watching things change, but they weren't changing themselves. That's because you're hearing a bunch of complaining, but a few are doing something about it. They continue doing the same old thing that they've always done while the bigger companies are changing and adapting. The average revenue for the top 20 truckload carriers was $1.36 per mile in the first quarter of 2002. And mind you, that the first quarter is the slowest time of the year for freight in general, which means that there are a lot more trucks available during this time, and rates tend to decrease depending on what you haul. Most brokers and shippers will attempt to use the cheapest trucks available. This is when they play their supply and demand card. The cheapest trucks available are owner-operators. Also, if their average revenue per mile is $1.36 and they're paying you 82 cents per mile, that's 54 cents per mile you could be making that you're not. That is huge. Actually, huge is an understatement. Take what you're making per mile right now and subtract $1.36 from that, then multiply it by your miles. That's how much more money you could be making. One more thing. Most trucking companies make significantly less when they use their own trucks and drivers compared to when they use owner-operators. One of the only reasons a big carrier can drop the rates extremely low is if they're using cheap owner-operators. Why in the world are we running so cheap as owner-operators? It's insane. Owner-operators in general are not competition in the trucking industry. Trucking companies and brokers use owner-operators to compete against each other. What do you think the average cost per mile is for an owner-operator? I'd say a good average is between 70 cents a mile to 95 cents a mile. For me, the lowest truck cost I've ever had was 62 cents per mile. So again, using the example of making 82 cents per mile on my best month ever, I would have only made 20 cents per mile. Just to be conservative, add another 15 cents per mile for the incentives you may get. And that's being generous, at no cost to the company, mind you. You're still making the same or less than the company driver, and that is on the best month I've ever had. With my tractor payment being around $730 a month, with not adding my trailer payment, my tractor averages a good 70 cents per mile. What I would be making then is less than minimum wage. If you're running any less than $1.15 per mile for all miles for a trucking company, you're hurting yourself. I don't care what incentives they give you. It just doesn't add up to the same thing. Also, let me give you one more fact. In California, workman's comp is up to $36 per 100. That means for every $100 a company pays their employee, they have to cough up $36. Why deal with that when you can run an owner-operator and eliminate the cost? That's smart on their side, but where does that leave you? They offer something simple, and people fall for it over and over again. The industry changes like everything else changes, but owner-operators don't keep up with the change. And if you don't keep up with the change, other companies are going to see that and take advantage of it. So SmartTrucker tip number 9, always stay caught up with current times in trucking and adapt your business to it. Let's talk about brokers. Brokers in the trucking industry go out, find shippers as their customers, and then find trucks to ship their loads. There is so much money in trucking that there is room for someone to come in between the shipper and trucking company and make a killing. There's a brokerage company out there making over $3 billion a year. Do you know what truck carriers brokers use the most? You guessed it, owner-operators. Do you know why? If you guessed they're the cheapest, bullseye. Do you remember why we are? Because we allow them to pay us cheap. And that is the only reason. Most big companies now also have broker's license for 2 reasons. Number 1, in case they can't cover one of their loads, they can legally and very quickly pawn it off to someone else to cover it. And number 2, there's a lot of money in it, man. There's a lot of owner-operators willing to run at low rates. Why not get the loads, pawn them off cheap, and make a killing? That's exactly what's happening. At the same time, getting rid of a lot of overhead. Is that a brilliant plan or what? Only, and I repeat, only can a broker or a big company make owner-operator type of profits because they are cutting the owner-operators out of their profits. We give them the ability because without us, they cannot do it. And then they run around like they're the ones that have something great to offer. No wonder so many people get into brokering. A lot of owner-operators will call a broker before or when they get to their destination and let them know they're in need of a load. This is poor, last-minute planning on the owner-operator's part. It makes them look desperate. In most cases, a broker will get a load at a price that the shipper is satisfied, not the owner-operator. Remember, the shipper is the broker's customer, not you. That is not the only factor that plays into this equation. You also have supply and demand. When there's a lot of trucks available, rates are going to be lower. And if you give them a little bit of a hard time, they will drop you like a bad habit. Some of them thinking they will teach you a lesson. Because there are a lot more owner-operators who don't know what to do in the slow season when there are more trucks available and less freight. They will pay you an okay rate, even maybe a good one, unless you know how to use demand in your favor. Then you get some of the better rates, even in the slow season. Okay, this is how you win. You have to know when there are less trucks available. Usually, it's a seasonal thing. It depends on where you run out of. The best way is make it so they call you by letting them know ahead of time where you will be. Then when they call you, demand your rate. But have you ever noticed when you do call them ahead of time, they tell you to call them back on the day you need the load? Some of them won't even post you. Do you really think the reason they won't call you is because they're too busy? No. They want you to be in need so they can control the rates. Most brokers are very well trained and they know the rate game very well. If you sleep on them for a minute, they will get over on you and you won't even know it. The trick here is keep calling them ahead of time anyway. There's no way they can stop you from letting them know where you will be. Another common mistake owner-operator make is they ask what the load is paying, instead of letting the broker or shipper know what their rates are. Here's another good thing to know. If you call them and they say they will pay a little more than usual, it usually means that they're having a hard time finding a truck. Here's one of my experiences. No. I'm going to give you an example based on a backhaul in 550 miles. If a load usually pays $600 and they offer me $700, I will demand $900 and settle between $750 and $850 if I don't get it for $900. Now, if I know they can't find anyone, for sure I will tell them my rate and I will not budge. That is called supply and demand. They do it to us without blinking, that's when you do it to them. For some reason, we've been conditioned that it's not right to increase rates like that as an owner-operator. Have you ever offered a high rate and feel guilty or uncomfortable? I have, but the truth is I shouldn't, neither should you. You're a trucking company, and this is what trucking companies do. No one else should control your rates except you. And if they tell me it's a hot load, that means no matter what happens, this load has got to move now. No options, no exceptions. This is what they call expedited or a hot shot. These are one of the highest paying loads in the industry, and if you're letting a load like this get stuck on your truck under $2 a mile, you're being taken advantage of. I don't care what the broker tells you. If they call me and use the word hot, I will not hesitate to demand $1,100 to $1,200 for that load. And if it's late enough, I can charge as high as $2,000 for the same load. Not only do I know what the rates are, I know how trucking companies work. I know if they try to call a bigger trucking company later in the day, they would be lucky if they got that moved for under $1,600. Also, keep in mind that there are brokers that get loads for $2 a mile and will pay an owner-operator $1 a mile. It doesn't make it right, but it happens. You can figure out this type of broker if you learn what rates you should be charging. The power of knowledge, put it to your advantage. Beware of El Cheapo broker. It is hard to pick this broker out. Some brokers will adapt and run according to industry standards, while other brokers come in, slash rates, and target owner-operators because they run the cheapest. It's the only way some brokers can stay in business. What they're really doing is just finding loads off the internet from 90 cents to $1.15 a mile. This is called double brokering. By the way, any owner-operator can find loads off the internet by themselves. Knowing that most owner-operators will run between 88 cents to $1 a mile, brokers get away with this. Owner-operators willing to run so cheap is what brings the rates down. Remember, brokers do not have to worry about costs of running a truck, nor do most of them care. A broker will usually know that a big company will only run a rate like this on the backhaul because they usually get paid round trip. And if the big companies are getting paid round trip and they're going back empty anyway, why not make free money? But usually a big company will not take a rate like that from a broker. Brokers like this can only stay into business if they can find a truck to run that cheap. Owner-operators are keeping this type of broker in business, and then they're crying about how they're not making it. I hate to say it, but it's the owner-operator's fault. Let's talk about awesome brokers. I want to make it very clear, at the same time there are awesome brokers to haul freight for. I have regular brokers that pay me $1.50 to $1.70 a mile. Other brokers in the area can pay me up to $2.40 a mile. When I'm getting paid rates like that, I don't care about finding my own shippers. I just want you to know that it is my standards and attitude that causes me to get these rates. Most of the time, these are the same brokers and the same loads that other owner-operators are usually getting for $1 a mile. Usually when someone comes and beats my rates, they don't last. I've had brokers or shippers come back to me because the cheaper carrier they were using had problems. They either went out of business, were always late, or they couldn't get them back because they didn't pay them enough to come back. Now they're stuck in la la land or were forced to go somewhere else. So guess who they call? Me. A better way to use brokers. I have a friend who is an owner-operator. He will not use a broker if his business depended on it because of the way brokers treat owner-operators. I've talked to him about it. In my opinion, it's better if you leave all your options available. If he's getting loads from shippers for $1.30 and I'm getting loads from brokers for $2.25 a mile, why in the world wouldn't you want to use a broker? It's like shooting yourself in the foot. Don't become so bitter that you cut yourself out of huge profits. My perspective is that if it pays right, I'll take a load from a monkey. I don't have anything against brokers. I think they can be very useful if used properly. It's important to realize that they come in and cut industry costs for shippers. The reason they cut rates so low is only because the owner-operator allows them to. If you do use a broker, I recommend that you put yourself in a situation where you only use them at your rate term. That means that you have to put yourself in demand. As long as you use brokers as your primary way of getting loads, you're never going to reach your ability to maximize your income.